everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video review, and today we're going to be doing Booster Gold, The Tomorrow Memory. Take a look at this comic cover right here. Now, Booster Gold, The Tomorrow Memory is an important trade in the Booster Gold series, because this marks the end of Dan Jurgens' run on Booster Gold. And now you're probably saying, well, why is that so important, Andrew? I mean, writers get on and off of comic books all the time. Well, it's because Dan Jurgens has been with Booster Gold since the beginning. And I'm not talking about this particular Booster Gold comic. I'm talking about Booster Gold in general. Dan Jurgens is credited as the creator of Booster Gold, and he's been writing Booster Gold since the very start. He wrote Booster Gold's first series back in the 80s, which lasted for about 25 to 30 issues. And when Booster Gold's comic came back in 2006, he joined forces with Geoff Johns to write the first two story arcs. And when Geoff left, he stayed on the title as the main writer for Booster Gold. So for Dan Jurgens to leave the Booster Gold title is kind of like Dennis O'Neil stopped working with Batman, or Geoff Johns no longer writes Green Lantern. It's just he's been such an influential writer to Booster Gold as a character and also as a series, making him into the hero that we all know and love today. And it's a little bittersweet because although Dan Jurgens leaves the title, eventually Keith Giffen jumps onto the Booster Gold title. And he's well known for the Justice League International stories, which Booster Gold was a member of, so it's not like he doesn't know how to write Booster Gold. But to have Dan Jurgens leave is like losing a body part, like an arm. It just doesn't feel right. But we're not talking about that stuff right now. No. We're talking about the Tomorrow Memory. Now, the Tomorrow Memory is broken up into two stories. The first story is a Blackest Night tie-in. Ted Kord, the second Blue Beetle, is resurrected from the dead as a Black Lantern. Which perplexes me a little, because didn't Geoff Johns hint that Blue Beetle was still alive at the end of Blue Gold? Well, whatever, we'll just forget about it. Anyways, Ted Kord is back as a Black Lantern, and he's doing what all Black Lanterns love to do. Torture, humiliate, maim, and eventually rip out the hearts of their loved ones. And then what loved one does Black Lantern Blue Beetle go after first? Well, none other than our friend Booster Gold. So Booster Gold has to go up against his former best friend in a showdown, living versus dead, Black versus Gold. Booster Gold, however, is not alone. No. Supernova joins the fight along with the new Blue Beetle, Jaime. Will Booster Gold be able to defeat his former best friend, or will Ted coming back to life give him false hopes and get screwy with his head? You're just going to have to read and see. The second story is one of your standard Booster Golds go back in time and prevent the time stream from being screwed up kind of stories. However, this one is a little different because usually Booster Gold goes back in time and saves someone's life. Make sure someone is alive. This time, however, he has to ensure the death of millions of people. Yes, Booster Gold needs to go back in time and ensure that Mongrel and Cyborg Superman destroy Coastal City and everyone in it. This is a task and decision that weighs heavy on Booster Gold's heart. I mean, if you could go back in time and prevent the Holocaust, any war, 9/11, anything, you'd probably do it. You'd be saving countless of lives. However, Booster Gold needs to make sure these people die, to ensure that the time stream stays the same, untouched, unpolluted. And it's not an easy task for Booster to do. At the same time, Booster Gold's sister pops up. Where else? In Coastal City. Booster Gold's sister, Michelle, has kind of been jumping back and forth in the time stream, hiding from her brother. Now that she's in Coastal City, will she be able to rectify the differences between her and her brother, or will she just be one of the many, countless amount of people that die that day? Well, that's something that you're just going to have to read and see. So let's get into the good, the bad, and whether or not you should get it. Good. Well, I'm glad that they're kind of actually putting the whole Blue Beetle being dead thing behind us. Booster Gold's best friend died. I mean, that's something that's going to be affecting him for a long time. But in a comic book sense, it would be nice if we could just move on from it and focus on Booster Gold moving on with his life. I mean, doing, oh no, Ted is dead the whole entire time, it gets a little old. So I'm kind of happy that they're putting the whole Blue Beetle being dead behind us. At least I hope so. But anyways, in addition to that, the Blackest Night story was fun because, well, he fought Black Lantern, Blue Beetle a little differently. He didn't use Green Lantern and other lanterns' powers merging together, or the power of light. No, Booster Gold fought him with the power of time. Yes, time-traveling based tactics. Isn't that an interesting way to fight enemies, especially Black Lanterns? Something that you definitely have to read and see how it's done, because it's really quite cool. And it's cool to see Booster Gold team up with Blue Beetle. I know a lot of people don't like the whole new Blue Beetle thing. A lot of people do like the new Blue Beetle, but a lot of hardcore Ted Kord fans really don't like the new Blue Beetle. I know this because one of my co-workers' favorite comic book character is Ted Kord, and he despises Jaime. Not because he's a bad character, just because he replaced Ted Kord. But I'm okay with it because people die and they get replaced. I mean, geez, I'm not going to get mad that Tim Drake is no longer Robin and Damian is. I mean, that's the way comics work. So, for there to be a new Blue Beetle and for him to be teaming up with Booster Gold, it's kind of cool. I'm happy they're doing it, and I hope that Jaime becomes a more prominent character in the Booster Gold series. I know he's taken up a position in the Generation Lost comics, kind of filling in Ted Kord's space. Another good thing is I like the different kind of time-traveling story, having Booster actually have to ensure people die. It's an interesting thing in putting Booster Gold in a predicament that I'm sure he doesn't want to be in. I'm sure no one wants to be in. Except for the Joker, I'm sure he wouldn't mind ensuring people dying. But the fact of the matter remains, this is something different, it's something new, and I applaud that. I also like the fact that Booster Gold's sister shows up once again. I find her to be one of the best supporting characters for Booster Gold, right next to Rip Hunter. So for her to come back onto the comics, it's nice. Bad. There's only two bads to this. One is there wasn't enough fighting with the Black Lantern Blue Beetle. Very little fighting, actually. It's more or less the Black Lantern story was just Booster reminiscing his friend and how he's died and all that junk, and then they fight, and it's not for long. I would have liked to see a little bit more of a knockout fight. Second bad thing is that I would have liked to see at least Dan Jurgens wrap up his run with a story about the Black Beetle, not any connection with Black Lantern Blue Beetle. I'm talking about Black Beetle, the enemy Booster Gold has been fighting for quite a long time. I know he gets dealt with in later Booster Gold stories, but it would have been nice to see Dan Jurgens finish it up. Besides that, though, The Tomorrow Memory is a great Booster Gold story. I often consider Booster Gold to be one of the best titles out there for DC. It's like a little hidden gem that not many people know about, or a guilty pleasure. And in saying that, I want to do a comparison. I like to compare Booster Gold's comic to Deadpool's comic in Marvel. Now, I don't read Marvel, so maybe I'm just blowing out of my ass here. But from people that I've talked to that have read Deadpool, say that Deadpool's a guilty pleasure, for lack of a better term, in that they're not necessarily great stories, but they're fun and they're enjoyable to read, and it's one of their favorite comics. Same thing could be said about Booster Gold. Not always are the stories top-notch, but the writing is always spot on. The characterization is always great, and it's always fun. However, I like to think Booster Gold does more good stories than bad stories. So anyways, with that said, Booster Gold is a great series. If you haven't jumped on it yet, you can still jump on it. There's about 5 trades in the current series and then the Showcase Presents series. I do recommend you pick up Booster Gold. And The Tomorrow Memory is a fun Booster Gold story. Dan Jurgens, I'm going to miss you. Hopefully you'll jump on to Booster Gold sometime in the future. But I recommend picking this up. If you haven't picked this up by now, what are you doing? Get out there. Buy it. Jeez. If you've already bought it, read it again. It's Booster Gold. This is Xander saying peace out for now.